When it comes to knowledge, believe me, owls are right up there. He's a typical high owl, Amir Khan.
Correct.
He's chasing perfection even in a movie that has been a hit for 25 years.
And can you explain a typical eagle to us, somebody from Bollywood, so that it becomes crystal clear for
Very famous Khiladi Kumar.
Okay.
So an eagle is a typical decisive, ambitious person. आदि है मैं नाचूंगा, बच्चा रो रहा है मैं नाचूंगा, मुंडन है मैं नाचूंगा. He wants success, results, and to make lots and lots of money. Understand their own style. Then they should recognize the other person, and then you can adapt. Unconsciously, we attract the people that we are, and we like them. But you need to test now. What if the door is loose? What if the door comes out? It says, sir, we check it when we design it. We design it in such a manner that when it fits, it's perfect. We don't need to check.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to yet another fascinating interview on business networking with Vipul Bondal on Thinkly Talks. I have a very good friend with me today on the podcast. And before I introduce you to our today's guest, let me give you a brief introduction of the gentleman. Well, it's a fantastic purple turban. I have Tejraj Singh Anand with me today. Tejraj wears several hats. One of those hats is that he's been an entrepreneur as a financial advisor for over 20 years, and he has guided individuals to find the right financial product for their needs and has excelled as a member of the $1 Million Roundtable of Financial Advisors. 12 years, Tejraj has been training networking. He's been a networker trainer and a coach par excellence. He's a senior director consultant training with BNI, one of the world's largest networking organizations. He's actually teaching people how to do networking. A few years ago, he did a certification from the Referral Institute of Dr. Ivan Meisner. Dr. Ivan Meisner is the founder of BNI and is known as the guru of modern networking and has been a master coach for the last 3 years and has enabled over 5,000 entrepreneurs and provided solutions to them. He works on understanding of behavior styles by observing people, listening to them, and adapts them in order to serve them and thereby build symbiotic relationships based on mutual respect and reciprocity. Workshops on behavior styles to help their participants. He believes that everyone has their unique dominant style of behavior, but he recommends that you should recognize the dominant style of the other person as well as yours and adapt your style with the other person's style too, with the objective of building better relationships and thereby become successful in business. So welcome Tejraj Singh Anand. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast today.
Pleasure to be discussing this topic with you.
Fantastic. And before I move on, I'll give you a brief introduction of Tejraj's background. Tejraj's wife is Balvinder Kaur and they have two daughters. Arshmeen was completed her MBBS and is pursuing masters in oncology, and her Mehak, who has completed her law. So Tejraj, once again, welcome. And before we move on, can you please demystify behavior styles for us?
So, Vipul, what happens is whenever we meet people,
Right.
we need to realize that there are four major ways of behaving.
Right.
And every individual is a combination of these four styles. People who are from the HR world, they would be familiar with the DISC analysis, DISC.
Right.
I prefer using words because, as you know, I love acronyms.
Correct.
And I realize that your behavior inspires relationship, dynamics, and success. So, as I was mentioning, the word birds, if you expand on it, it becomes behavior, inspires, relationship, dynamics, and success.
Correct.
So, for a good, dynamic, successful relationship, the determining factor is your behavior. Correct. Therefore, when it comes to the DISC language, for me, the D, I call them eagles.
Right.
The influential I call them parrots. The stable S, I call them doves. And the compliant people, I call them owls.
Right.
one, statutory point out here is please don't refer an owl in the language Hindi.
Okay. Okay. So owl here is referring to a compliant
Yeah,
behavior. Okay. Then if you can
absolutely.
briefly, these are words for a lot of us. You'll appreciate. So if you can just tell us what do you mean by each of these characteristics which you talked about, and therefore, you know, so that it becomes very clear rather than us misunderstanding what you're saying.
So an eagle is a very decisive, driven, ambitious individual. He is result oriented.
Right,
A parrot is a fun loving, spontaneous, inspirational person.
right,
He picks up new ideas and wants to implement them immediately. He's an ideas person.
correct,
A dove is a relationship driven, caring person who's always, remember that one friend of yours whom you can call up in the midnight and cry for 20 minutes or 1 hour, and the man will listen to you.
right,
This is a dove. And an owl is somebody who's very process driven, systematic, research driven, knowledgeable person. When it comes to knowledge, believe me, owls are right up there. They are always chasing that elusive perfection, which is why they will never totally achieve it because they feel they can always improve. I'll just
and
share with you a story of an owl.
yeah, please go ahead.
So recently, there was the 25th, I don't know how many years to that Amir Khan movie of Sarfarosh.
25, yes,
So you remember, and Amir Khan made a statement
right,
that even now, there is one thing about that movie that he wish he could change.
right,
Because he was working on two projects, his haircut in Sarfarosh was not ideal for a police inspector.
correct,
And because he was never in the uniform in the movie,
right,
it passed. So look at this man. He's a typical high owl, Amir Khan.
correct,
He's chasing perfection even in a movie that has been a hit for 25 years.
yeah,
Owls are amazing people. They are always after that perfection. Nothing but
and they always think they could have done better.
absolutely. And they are the ones who decide, they are not people who need you to award them. Even
Correct,
if you give them an award, they will know they want to be the ones to decide. Does it deserve an award?
true, true. Yeah, I mean, with Amir Khan, we can expect that kind of. And can you explain a typical eagle to us, somebody from Bollywood, so that it becomes crystal clear for everybody whom you
Somebody from
represent?
Bollywood, well, okay. Let's
Okay,
talk about the very famous Khiladi Kumar.
okay,
So an eagle is a typical decisive, ambitious person.
all right,
He is concerned about the bottom line. What is the bottom line? Result, dhanda, paisa. So I remember that lovely Coffee with Karan episode of Amir Khan and Ranveer Singh and Karan, obviously, where Akshay Kumar, not Amir Khan, and Akshay Kumar says, "शादी है मैं नाचूंगा, बच्चा रो रहा है मैं नाचूंगा, मुंडन है मैं नाचूंगा." So he's typically after that result, he wants success, results, and to make lots and lots of money.
correct,
No wonder he's the highest taxpayer also.
correct.
That's a typical eagle for you. And an eagle doesn't care whether it is a hit or not a hit because his concern is about the bank balance.
And can you also give us a couple of one example of a parrot and a dove if it's not too
A parrot, the most sleeping Bollywood example of a parrot would be Ranveer Singh. Look at the kind of clothes he will wear. Wow, that's amazing. You know, and the energy that the man carries, the way he uses his hands. So even look at Prime Minister Modi. He is amazing. So people who are good at speaking and they are very, I would say, use their body language a lot, their hands a lot, their facial expressions. These are the typical parrots. They inspire a lot of people. Now, when it comes to doves, doves are everything the other three are not. So
late.
doves are, they don't talk too much. They are silent. They are great listeners. They want to build relationships. They don't need too much of knowledge. They won't do too much of dhamal. They are okay. They are happy. Even if the food was not good, you know what they'll tell the wife? The food was good.
Okay. Okay. But I think when it comes to the wife, I think most of us become loud.
See, a parrot needs to have fun. You know what the parrot will say? He'll say, yeah, the food was good, but tomorrow let's go out for lunch now.
Right?
And the eagle won't bother. He'll just give it frankly the way it is.
And so that's the characteristic. So our discussion here is that when you get into a business discussion and it's about building a relationship between a customer and a service provider or a product provider, it's important to understand the uh, behavior styles of each other. Both on both sides there is, especially if your intent is to do business for the long term, there is a need to understand behaviors and therefore be able to adapt properly so that the relationship works out to be successful. So can one move from, I mean, firstly my question is, can somebody be into bird characteristics, I mean two bird behavior, is that possible? Can somebody
So
be an
people are
eagle
a
and a
combination.
owl, for example, or an
So
eagle and a
people are a
parrot?
combination.
Okay.
Approximately 80% of the people are a combination of two. Some of them are combinations of three. And very rarely you will find somebody who is a pure one style or a combination of all four. I have met a few people who are combinations of all four, but very, very rare. Generally, you meet people who are combinations of two.
Right. So my question is,
And people,
so
yeah,
can
people
people
can adapt.
understand their own behavior, style, and therefore adapt depending on situation? Is that possible?
So people have to first understand their own style.
Right.
Then they should recognize the other person,
Right.
and then you can adapt. So, for example, even if so, normally we behave the way we normally behave. That means one person out of four will be like us. So we don't need to adapt over there. But the three other people, we will need to adapt. And it is possible to adapt.
And given your vast experience in of training people or also seeing businesses at very close quarters, when it comes to, let's say, uh, two people who are starting off a partnership, do you recommend
Mhm.
that ideally both of them should be of the same type, or do you think they should have contrasting styles of behavior so that they can get along and do business for a longer time? I mean,
I'll
how does
share
that?
this with a real life example. We were actually dealing with somebody who is a pretty high eagle parrot. And then for her, when we did a session for her employees,
Right.
we realized that most of her employees were eagle parrots. So unconsciously, we attract the people that we are and we like them. So we
Right.
hire them.
Obviously. Right.
However, the owl skills were not there in that organization.
Right.
They were all highly motivated, decisive people wanting to have fun. What about the basic operations? What about the account keeping? What about getting the money in?
Right.
You need owl.
Correct. To be
Okay.
able to do
What
that.
about making an angry customer comfortable? You need a dove.
Correct.
Ideally, people should be complementing each other. So whatever is lacking in me, my partner compliments me on it. But
Right.
then we both should understand this. Otherwise, we'll keep fighting among ourselves only.
Understood.
If we understand how to complement, that's the benefit. That's the best part.
So, firstly, is understanding your behavior, understanding the behavior of your partner, and then adapting. That's very critical.
Absolutely.
And that's what you do. That's what you train people to do, right?
That's what I help them do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that's what you have done. So, I'm not going to ask you too many things because I'm sure all of this you will you'll need to take your guidance and do it. Uh, but we'll just get an idea of it. So let's say there is a sales guy, okay, who's typically I think one would like to get eagles as sales guys because you want them to go and close a deal, and but the buyer, unfortunately, is not a eagle, is an owl or maybe a dove. So how does the eagle go and sell? Because the eagle is eager to sell, right? He's eager to go and catch that sale and make that deal for their company. And whereas on the other side, you have a dove or a owl who at first sight may not like this guy. So how does that happen?
So the ideal way for a person who's wanting to sell is to adapt to the other person. Now, if the other person is a dove, then you have to, instead of being aggressive about your product, you need to first build a relationship. You need to make him feel comfortable. You need to make him a friend. He will become a friend first and then a client. If he is not your friend, he may not be your client. So with a dove, you need to slow it down, make him a friend. This does not mean you have to wait for 6, 7 months. No, you in the first meeting, you break the ice, get to know him as a person, ask about his family, see what inputs you can give for his, if he has any children related goals or any family related goals, and then pitch your product and see how your product can tie in as a solution.
Right.
If you're dealing with, if an eagle is dealing with owl, he has to understand that that owl is knowledgeable, will have many questions, and he has to patiently answer the question. So eagle is decisive, fast paced, wants to do it very quickly, but then owl is slow and steady, wins the race. Like that Hero Honda ka ad, fill it, shut it, forget it.
Again, yeah.
That's for an eagle. For an owl, it is the NSE ka ad. सोच के समझ के निवेश कर. You know, so
Correct.
an owl will always सोच के समझ के buy, won't buy immediately. But an eagle will be a fast decision maker. So one has to adapt.
And what about the other way around? Let's say the buyer is a eagle, uh, you know, very Elon Musk kind of a guy who's a go-getter, and the guy who's selling the service is a owl or a dove, the other end of the spectrum. So how does that happen?
So again, the eagle will not give too much time to anybody. So you may be a dove, you want to build relationship, but relax, the eagle is going to give you only 5 minutes. Please come to the point. Tell the eagle what's the benefit for the eagle. Show him his benefit and give him the quote. Because he's going to decide in maximum 2 meetings. He won't give you too much time also. So you have to be punctual with an eagle. You can't afford to be late. If you're late with an eagle, you have kissed your deal goodbye. I've met so many eagles, and then I tell them that I think you don't do business with people who come late, and they are very clear about it. Whereas an owl is always punctual. Owl is never late.
Correct.
But then owl is very systematic, slow, too much of information he wants to give. But the eagle doesn't want too much of information. He wants to know मेरा क्या फायदा है इसमें. That's
Correct.
it. वो फायदा तुम कैसे दे रहे हो? How are you doing it? What is the process? What is your structure? He doesn't care.
Correct.
As long as you show him his benefit, he will buy.
So, which brings me to two questions, Tejraj, which, if you remember, when we were chatting offline, I had asked you this. So, one is, first question is, can somebody identify their own behavior style, and you know, therefore also be able to identify the behavior style of the other person with whom they want to do business or do a sale work. And I'm restricting this conversation only to business
Please.
conversation, not a guy trying to patawa girl. Uh, the other is, you know, uh, can somebody's behavior move from one to, so can eagle, for example, become a owl if required? I mean, can it happen over a long term? And I'm not talking about adapting. Can that happen at all?
So a complete change cannot happen. Adapting can happen. But like we are born with a blood group
Yeah.
and we die with that blood group. So we are born with a style and we die with a style.
Okay.
We can adapt for some time, but a complete change may not be possible.
And typically, when does this behavior styles, you know, styles sink in? I mean, when does that happen in a person? Let's say there are two brothers. I mean, you can make out that there are two different styles, right? I mean, how does that happen? Is there some theory behind this? I mean, and I'm sure you know it, but just
No, no,
curious
there
to
is
know.
no theory behind it. I mean, how can two people have different blood groups? Two people can have different styles. And by the way, even in a family, people have different blood groups.
Yeah,
I know of a family where one person is AB positive and the whole family is A positive. Natural.
true. But there the thing is the people who are A positive because the parents were A positive. But how does that happen in terms of behaviors?
Behavior is just the way you are. I can have an eagle son being an owl. I can have a parrot son being a dove. Everything is possible. It is nothing, no genetics at play over here.
So it's pure experiences
It's
as
it's pure the way they are. You are the way you are.
so the other way out is then you adapt knowing where you are so that
There is only
so
one
your
way out that you
behavior style
understand
doesn't
what is your style.
work in against you.
You only one way out is to understand your style, recognize the other person, and adapt.
And okay,
I'll
so
be
now
honest with you. In my family,
right,
I am the only person of the style that I am, which I'm
okay,
not going to disclose.
you can tell me offline. Okay, so which brings me to a very nuts and bolts kind of question. Okay, so let's say I want to do business with you, Tej. Somebody has referred me to you, or I'm making a cold call to you. Okay, and I want to sell my product to you. Okay? I know you are a likely buyer, so I've done my homework. I figured out that Tejraj is a good customer. Okay? But I've never met you, and I know you are the decision. And so, how do I go about it? I mean, when do I figure out whether you're a dove or a eagle or a owl?
So
How do I go about
if you've done your homework, that means you have looked me up on social media, at
it? Right,
least.
right,
Let me come with social media.
okay,
If somebody is on LinkedIn
right,
and not on any other platform,
okay,
and on LinkedIn also he is not very active, this man is most likely an owl.
okay.
For an
Interesting.
owl, for an owl, social media is an interruption to his other activities, and he would rather get back to his other activities and execute in a systematic manner what he does. However, let me also tell you this is just the beginning. Because if I explain to an owl that, look, your profession demands that you be very active on LinkedIn and you should be able to post regularly so that people are aware about you. And if he understands कि हाँ ये मेरे काम के लिए important है, now the owl will post very systematically on LinkedIn. He will use all that automatic, that timing the post and everything. He will do that very, very diligently. And now you'll see him active on LinkedIn. But he's still an owl. If somebody is he's on Facebook, Insta, everywhere, and all you see him showing off is his success. He's flaunting his new Mercedes. He's flaunting his new trip to Switzerland. The man who's flaunting and he's flaunting brands, that man is mostly an eagle because eagle is successful and he wants to show his success. An eagle does not buy a shirt, he buys a brand. He'll buy a Louis Philippe. It happens to be a shirt. Whereas an owl will buy a shirt, he doesn't care for the brand.
So you look up this person. So I'll look up Tejraj on LinkedIn and I'll figure out what kind of a person he is.
You'll
Okay,
get some indication from
get some
LinkedIn or
indication.
from social media.
Okay. Let's say somebody doesn't get the time to do that. I mean, I've been referred. I've asked somebody at BNI. I want to get in touch with Tejraj, and I call Tejraj. Okay, let's say the first interaction that I have not checked out social media, uh, but I happen to reach out to Tejraj, or Tejraj happens to be in the meeting where I am there, and is there a opportunity to quickly figure out what kind of a heard Tejraj is, and how do I?
So quickly, what one would be if you're seeing him eye to eye, okay, the eagle is going to be immaculately dressed for the occasion. It will be a proper formal suit, a proper tie. Every crease will be in place, and he will typically network with people for a small amount of time because he'll want to meet as many people as possible. An owl will talk to few people, and those conversations will be very meaningful and knowledgeable conversations. Whereas an parrot will be someone who will make a lot of noise because he's all about, you know,
Idea.
speaking and speaking loudly. So you walk into a party or a meeting and you find somebody's voice really above everybody else. This man could be a parrot. And a dove will be someone who will be typically helping everybody, guiding them to the various, guiding them to their seat, getting them their cup of tea, and talking to one person for a long period of time. But
Okay, so you established what that person is. You probably are aware that you are either a dove or a eagle or whatever that you are, and then you adapt your style. Is what. Okay, so let's take a question here. There's a question from Vinita. So her question is, Good afternoon. Your talk seems fascinating. Could you help me understand how do cultural differences impact consumer behavior, and how should businesses adapt their strategies accordingly? If you can, are there any cultural differences here when it comes to behaviors of the nature that you spoke? Are like, for example, people from Japan a particular way, people from India a particular way, you know, when it
so
comes to
it
international,
does matter. It does matter to a very large extent
right,
because if you technically look at, you mentioned Japan, right?
right,
So I'm reminded of that automobile story
right,
where the Americans, when they visited a Japanese plant,
right,
they found that these guys were not testing whether the door fit properly or not. They said, "Arey, you need to test now. What if the door is loose? What if the door comes out?" And the Japanese were laughing. He said, "Sir, we check it when we design it. We design it in such a manner that when it fits, it's perfect. We don't need to check." So a Japanese is more of an owl where he has planned everything so well that execution is effortless. That is why they say 85% of the time goes in planning and 15% in executing.
right,
Whereas somebody who's an eagle or a parrot, he will like a parrot will probably start executing as he's ideating, you know, and he'll say, okay, let's see where this takes us. And
correct,
eagle will be a very decisive personality. So again, will be a very fast decision maker. So you can't expect an eagle or a parrot to say 85% time planning करेंगे, 15% में execute करेंगे. No, 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 no. They'll start executing and then figure it out as they go ahead. Which is why they need to test what door fit होगा कि नहीं.
correct,
The Japanese don't need to test कि door fit होगा कि नहीं.
yeah,
So yes, cultural differences do make an impact because ultimately, let's remember, I was talking to somebody the other day, and our ancestors are a monkey, right?
right,
So monkey see, monkey do. In a particular culture, if most of the people are behaving in a such certain manner, you end up behaving like that
right,
subconsciously. So it does make an impact. And that's why we can say when it comes to quality, you can't beat the Germans and the Japanese
right. True.
simply because they are more conscious about quality and perfection, as you see. You know, so lots of owls, it's a pretty high owl society.
Thank you so much for that answer. I mean, I was very keen to understand whether countries behave that way. So, one of the points since you know, certified yourself from Ivan Meisner Institute. Can you tell us a little bit about your networking experience and your networking journey? How long back have you uh, been networking now in a very organized? I know you've been probably been networking all your life, but uh, in a very organized way. When did this begin? And can you walk us through your journey as a
So my systematic and organized networking began in the way back in 2009 when I joined BNI,
Okay.
because all said and done, the most systematic, organized, process driven, visionary format of networking is BNI. And uh, having learned the certified networking program with Dr. Ivan Meisner's Referral Institute, that gave me insights as to how exactly do we go ahead inspiring people. So when I did the certified networker program, when I did the certified networker program, I understood, which I did not know till then. Till then, I thought that if you want a referral, you ask for it.
Correct.
But the certified networker program made me understand that if you need a referral, you inspire people to refer. So when you ask for it, they may give you one referral, two referral, three referral. Good, not bad. But when you inspire them, they will automatically keep referring. That's what I learned in the CN3 program, that inspiration is the key to building a phenomenal referral partner relationship with somebody.
So can you elaborate on this? I mean, what do you mean when you say inspire? I mean, how does one inspire somebody to refer you? I mean, if you can give
For
us a
this,
real
for this
life example to show.
I use the Indian freedom struggle as an example. If offhand I ask you, who is the most inspirational leader of the Indian freedom struggle,
Right.
which name comes to your mind? Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi. Yes.
Was he the first?
Among
There
the
were many
freedom fighters.
before him.
Yeah, yeah. There were many before.
There were many before him, and there were many with him.
Correct.
Contemporaries. We had Bhagat Singh, we had Lala Lajpat Rai, we had Lokmanya Tilak, we had Netaji Bose. We
Correct.
had a plethora of leaders.
Yeah.
But the most inspirational has been Mahatma Gandhi.
Correct.
Now, one the most important point to understand here is when Mahatma Gandhi arrived on the scene, he began with his Durban story
Correct.
when they threw him out of the railway train in South Africa. So, one way to inspire people is to tell them your origin story. Why do you do what you do? Why are you a marketing agency, or why are you a content writer? Why are you an insurance advisor? Why are you a business coach?
Correct.
So, when you share your purpose, that's the way to inspire people. Let me tell you, how does BNI inspire me every week? I love to answer this question.
What?
Every week, BNI for the last 14 and a half years of my membership has been telling me its core values. Our
Right.
core values are givers gain, recognition, tradition and innovation, lifelong learning, building relationships, right? Every single week, so much so that it is almost verbatim to us now.
Right.
And on every core value, Dr. Meisner has a video.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
Now, your core values inspire people. So the BNI core values, the way they inspire us, when we share our core values with people, our core values will inspire people. For example, one of my core values is inclusivity,
Right.
which is my core value. Right? So when you share your core values, when you share your purpose, when you share your vision, you inspire people. And you see, that's what Gandhi did, right? His core value was ahimsa. So much so, when the civil disobedience movement was so successful, one violent incident in Chauri Chaura, and Gandhi shut it down.
Correct.
Nothing doing. The core value cannot be compromised.
Right.
Okay. Even today, we all live by Gandhi's vision of Ram Raj, right?
Correct.
So his vision is there even today, approximately 100 years after he arrived on the Indian freedom struggle.
Correct.
Arrived somewhere in 1912. Today it's more than 100 years. We
Right.
are still resonating with his vision.
Right.
So these are the tools that inspire people, and they are very well used, obviously, by Dr. Meisner's BNI, and our BNI in a way, but he's the founder of it. So I
Right.
have to give a lot of credit to him that everything that I learned in CN3 program, he has actually implemented in BNI.
So when you say inspire people, you mean aligning them to your vision and your values so that they continue to refer you what you need. I mean, I'm talking about business networking here.
So
They keep aligning things to suit your vision and your values.
see, let's understand when it comes to business referrals, everybody is an entrepreneur and a successful entrepreneur at that.
Correct.
So it's not that they have a lot of time in the world,
Right.
but when you're inspired by somebody, you'll make that extra effort to refer that person,
Right.
extra effort to make it a good referral,
Right.
extra effort to make that connection happen, extra effort requires inspiration. And okay, I'll give you an example of inspiration from the recent Indian history.
Right.
Because if Mahatma Gandhi was too old, let's come to the current prime minister.
Right.
You see, does he not inspire people?
Of course it is.
Yes, he does. Does he not have a vision? Yes, he does. And that is the vision that people are relating with. When people say na, that we don't care how much petrol costs because we are not buying petrol, we are totally sold on the vision of the government. Now, cost does not matter.
Right.
So, inspiration works.
Super. I mean, it's a very good insight into how marketing and how selling in the long term works. So, tell me something about your BNI journey. I mean, you outlined a little bit of it. So, but how did it begin, and how have you gained over the years? Because you began your journey in BNI as a financial advisor. Today, you moved into something else. So, you can just tell us a little bit about
See,
that. And,
the BNA journey began like every other BNA member's journey begins with somebody inviting him as a visitor. So,
right,
my development officer in LIC invited me to visit a BNI chapter, which happened to be BNI KM in Malad.
right,
I still remember Ramu Vedraman, one of the senior members, took the visitor orientation slot,
correct,
and I was completely sold on it. Rather, forget sold on it. I think I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
correct,
And it's been an amazing journey, and the journey continues because I still remember what is being shared very often that the only time a man resigns from BNI or leaves BNI is when he's shutting down his business.
correct,
I think this journey continues, and it's been amazing. I joined as a member, and then I remember my DC at that time asked me to become the education coordinator. Then I was then I was invited to be a trainer. I did the trainer programs for MSP and various other trainings.
correct.
Then I had the benefit of supporting chapters. So it's been a very good journey, made some amazing relationships, learned a lot, and now with the people styles knowledge, I can see the styles in action. I just love it when something happens and I realize this is happening because of this particular style. And I say, wow, amazing.
So
Styles work,
I'm sure
what gives
when
me.
you're walking around, you can say, "Oh, that's an eagle. That's a dow. That's a how."
Not just me, Vipul, let me tell you, some of the people who've attended the workshop, they say, now we are only seeing birds everywhere.
So that's bird watching of a different type.
Well, let me tell you, one of the participants, and so normally in sales and marketing, we have a follow-up list, right?
Right.
Client name, number, what is the stage where the follow-up is.
Yeah.
There's a normal Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
After doing the workshop, he went and added a column to it, which was style. So now every client he is categorizing of either eagle, dove, parrot, owl, and that's how he's following up with them. So
Oh,
that's an amazing thing. When people share their what they're implementing, that's when I get real good satisfaction. Okay, the knowledge is being used by people.
well, I think apart from being coach on behavioral styles, you are also a mind reader because my question was going to be that how does one actually implement this? So, if you can illustrate with an example, it would be great.
I'll give you an example of one of the participants who, one I mentioned right now, he's added styles to his Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
The another participant was a chartered accountant, and well, benefit for him was that he was an owl, and owls are very quickly to implement. They are very quick in implementing. And they will always implement what they've learned. Even in my BNI journey, I met so many owls. One thing I've understood about an owl is if he learns something, he implements it. This gentleman actually, so when he filled up the tender, the company reverted back by saying that, look, your price is 100 rupees, for example. We have your competitors giving it to us as 25 rupees. And we know you're good, but then we don't think you're so. I mean, this much big gap is not justified. So
Right.
please come and present. So he shared with us that when I went to meet the client, I recognized the style of the client and I adapted accordingly.
Okay.
And guess what? He closed the deal by just giving a 10% discount. So imagine you have two vendors, one quoting 100, one quoting 25, and you end up buying the vendor quoting 90.
The same guy, the 100 guy quoting 9.
The 100 guy giving a 10%. And you know what? It was amazing. You know, how we gave the 10% discount. The client said, boss, we've called you, give us some discount at least. We said, fair enough, I'll give you a 10% discount, provided you close the deal today. If you don't close it today, it's 100 rupees tomorrow morning.
There he became an eagle.
Then he became a proper eagle. He said, now let me get this thing sorted today itself. Then he adapted and became a proper eagle.
So, which brings me to the last question in this fascinating discussion that we've been having. I actually didn't realize we've reached almost 50 minutes since we began. So, what next for you, Tejraj? I mean, where do you where do you go from here? And what is your vision for yourself, for what you're doing? And if you can tell us a little bit about that.
So my insurance journey and my financial planning journey continues. That is going to continue at its own autopilot mode.
Correct.
And because I'm so passionate about coaching and training, and as I mentioned with you, that my core value is inclusivity.
Right.
So I would like to see entrepreneurs without anything holding that back, understanding people, sharing their vision, sharing their mission, and growing exponentially. I remember when Ramu did the famous visitor orientation slot, which I attended as a visitor. I remember Ramu's words. He said, Tejraj, if you're looking at 10, 20% growth in business, please don't join BNI.
Right.
Join BNI only if you're looking for exponential growth. And that's what I realized today is when we inspire people, that's when that exponential growth is going to happen. And that's when I realized that, of course, as BNI members, we are all inspired by BNI, which is why in BNI we are growing at an exponential rate
Correct.
because we are inspired by Dr. Meisner, his core values, his vision. You remember that purpose story where he talks about how he began
Yes.
his podcast of from garage to global.
Right. Right.
So it's all that's all that is inspiring, and with so much of inspiration around, the kind of vision that I can see is entrepreneurs experiencing that exponential growth in their business.
Right.
So if your business is growing at 20, 30%, fantastic, great. But remember, networking has the capacity to give you exponential growth. The system works. It's are you utilizing the tools of the system to make it work for you also?
Super. So finally, Tejraj, if you can just tell us if someone wants to reach you, if you can tell us your cell number and your email ID or whichever. If you prefer to not give your cell number, it's fine. You can give us your email ID and a contact number, maybe your office or something, and your LinkedIn profile. If you can share your LinkedIn profile, so I'll put it on the group. So
Okay.
in case somebody wants to reach out to you, they can do that. And somebody wants to maybe register
I'll
with
share
you.
my link tree with you, which has got all my social media links.
Super.
And I don't mind sharing my number also. So I'll share that as well with you. No problem at
Sure. So, we'll put it on the community group and
all.
sure we
Sure.
should get in touch with you. take this on. Thank you very much for your time and for all the insights which you shared. And I'm going to catch up with you separately to learn what kind of a bird I am and also learn what kind of a bird you are. We'll do that separately.
Thank you so much, Vipul.
Thank
That'll
you
be
very much.
fascinating.
Let
See
me
you. Bye bye.
stop.
Take care. God bless. And all the best to all the people who've watched us and wish you many more successes in life. Thank you.